A pleasant good morning to everyone and welcome once again to another episode of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Let me tell you the guest for today's show. It looks like this. In hour number one, in about 15 minutes, we'll say 10, 15-ish, the men's basketball coach at Southern University, Coach Sean Woods, will join me. We'll talk about the season that was for Southern University basketball, and I'm very interested in talking with him. It'll be the first time officially getting him on the show. Better late than never. Under the circumstances, and you know what is going on right now, perhaps the Jaguars would be playing in the NCAA tournament, perhaps not. But we'll ask him about the season, the improvement. We'll ask him the specific question. His thoughts on the SWAC tournament. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Where do you think his Jaguar basketball team, how would they have done? It's hypothetical, I understand. But, hey, you can do it. We'll have some fun interviewing Coach Sean Woods. Then we'll visit with Coach Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. It's always a pleasure to pick his brain and talk with him, and we'll do it again. And then finally, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. He'll join me in hour number two. I know for some of you, it has been a tough week, as I stated last week, with the coronavirus situation, pandemic, all of that going on. Hopefully, just hopefully, this 2 hours will give you a chance to kind of get away from that, at least for a while. Last week, kind of talked about it as being therapy for some of you. So hopefully we'll continue to be able to provide that for you on this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show. Dr. Prince, good morning to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well, sir. And how about yourself, man?
I'm doing well. Hey, as I always say, thank God there is a God, the Creator, and being among the living.
Amen.
That's the way you look at it. And with everything going on and people having their minds on a lot of things that are not fun, hopefully this will just be an outlet for them.
Hopefully, and I think it will be. As ironic as it may sound, at such a time as this, and I think Dr. Charles McClellan hit on it last week when you had him on. We need to try to stay as close to normal as we can. And like you said, a couple hours of therapy and a little laughter, a little hypothetical conversation, and a little mudslinging here and there. I think it's good for the psyche at this stage.
Because, and I would agree with that. Hypothetically, I'm going to ask Coach Woods about the season, and I'm going to be able to get just a little bit in there about coulda, woulda, what would have happened. But we must admit, what a big improvement. 17 and 15 overall, 13 and 5 in conference. And if you look at it, and as I was kind of looking over the schedule and the season that was, man, started the conference out 0-3, did not lose but 2 games after that. So, is the pressure, is it going to be on, or let me phrase it another way. Has the benchmark been set going into next year, provided everything works out and we get over this situation?
I would have to say yes, without a shadow of a doubt. Here's what gets me. I don't know of any coach that has been hired in the history of athletics that was not hired to win games, that was not hired to improve the current situation that they've inherited, even if they come off a championship. So I don't know why we get in a conundrum when we say, well, wow, they meet our expectations. What's next? Push a little bit further, grind a little bit harder, and keep going. I think complacency is the beginning of downfall. And the moment any coach, any institution, any program becomes complacent, then you begin to have these crash and burn situations. So you have to always be grinding, man. Always. Yes, you came above what was expected. Okay, now that I'm here, what else? I got to maintain and still keep climbing. Because, say, for instance, you win 10 conference championships, SWAC, in basketball, and you win the tournament. Okay, now I got a goal of getting past regionals. I want to be able to get to the group of 32, Sweet 16. So you're always grinding to get better. So I don't think you should ever be complacent on just being SWAC kings.
Yeah, and it's interesting that those words that you produced just now. I'm going to remember those words, and I do agree with them. On social media, sometimes just personal conversation. I talked to a certain fan base in this conference, and still, one of them, they would, and you got to put it in perspective. I understand, but for now less than 2 hours, we're not going to think about what's going on in the exterior world. We're going to be in our own little Carlos Brown show. In this point,
the Carlos Brown show bubble.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a better word than bubble, but yeah.
Incubator. How about the incubator? Incubator. Because even though we're inside, we're still going to be cooking up and sterilizing a whole bunch of woulda, coulda, shouldas, and keep people with a little smile on their face and some thought-provoking analysis, at least for the next couple of hours.
There you go. And I'm just going to share this a little bit. One of the listeners of the show said basically, in one sport we're dominating. We're doing very well, but am I wrong for wanting to be better in other sports? And I personally told him, I understand the way you feel.
Yeah.
And you're always striving to get better. And so when the time comes, that is something I think I told him I would talk with his fellow alums about that situation. Don't just be settled with winning in one sport all the time.
Right.
You have athletic programs.
Right.
Then you strive to be better and dominate if you can. Don't worry about that word, dominate.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I share with him, but I feel his pain, and we kind of be sarcastic about Southern University football, getting second place 2 years in a row, and now when the time comes, try to challenge for that. But tomorrow's not promised. Next year's not promised.
Let me ask you this, Brother Brown.
I'm in trouble when you say Brother Brown.
No, you're not in trouble at all, man. Not at all.
Go ahead.
I come in peace. Would you rather have a championship run consistently? Let's just say in football, and everything else you're not even in the levels. And if that be the case, why even have the other sports if you're not going to put forth the effort of excellence as you would in football? Because we know this is a heavily football conference, but it seems like everything else kind of falls by the wayside. They don't do a lot of think tanking on how we can make our other sports competitive outside of the conference.
Yeah, well, that discussion's come up before, like, for example, but to specifically answer your question, I'm going to choose C. It sounds like it was an A or B, but C is I want to have an outstanding athletic program, and that means successful in as many sports, word it that way, as possible.
Mm-hmm.
because if we look at Alabama State, they won the overall trophy for being the best athletic program, and they've done that without winning a championship in football. Correct?
Absolutely, and that was the perfect storm, because people don't think of Alabama State as a quote unquote successful athletic department because of the lack of football hardware. But when you look across the board, who's been winning the Commissioner's Cup, even though I think, that's kind of only a three-dog race, but who's been winning the spring sports? It's been Alabama State on a consistent basis. They're dominating in track and field. They've been, I'm going to say, in the hierarchy of baseball and softball. Okay, basketball, subpar.
Yeah, falling off a bit, but at one time.
Right, but that's why I said subpar. And the underachieving has to be football. But overall, would you rather be, as an athletic director, in the position of Alabama State or any other school in the conference, as far as comparing apples to apples and success rate?
See, this is the part where your head would say, put it that way, in the position of Alabama State. But then I know, and I'm guilty of this as well. Oh, see, I'm going to admit it. What do you think about first? You think about football, basketball, and baseball. Then you kind of talk about the big three. And maybe you shouldn't say the big three, but football, basketball, and baseball. But technically, from a head standpoint, you want to win that Commissioner's Cup, right?
Right.
You want to win that. Then I said earlier, I want my cake and eat it too. But then that means you got to dominate in everything or win championships. Does that mean you want to win every single team event every year? Well, the possibility of that's going to be tough.
Right.
But you want to be in the conversation. You want to be in a position where you have the opportunity and the chance to win as many championships as you can.
No doubt. And when I say be competitive, we know that in the ideal world, you want to win every game that you play and every championship you're available for and qualify for. But out of the 18 sports, if I'm in, and this is just me, I want to be in the top three of the conference, not just a division. I want to make that perfectly clear. I want to be in the top three in the conference of my sports across the board. And I think that's a pretty easy, measurable tool to overall give an analysis of your athletic program.
Now, some people have used all these analogies, cliches here. Football is the engine that produces the most money. We, in the geographical blueprint that we're in, for example, football, that's it. But now you got to have balance with all of that. So back to the original statement or comments, excuse me, you've got to ideally want to be competitive in every team sport. Thus, Alabama State has done a tremendous job. Now, just think if they can get it done in football, but that football gets all of the glory. Now, whether you'll say, yeah, it deservedly so, but I think the true sports fanatic, he wants his cake and eat it too. He wants to win championships or be in a position to win them all, or at least every other year. Don't let 5 or 6, 7, 8 years go by and you don't have a championship in any sport. So, with that being said, interesting. But I'm going to take a time out. When I come back, a guy who had success in this, in basketball period, collegiate playing, then in the conference, did very well. at Mississippi Valley State and now at Southern University. What was the big difference from year one to year two? Coach Sean Woods joins me next. Take a time out. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Have sports, we'll travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
Hello, this is Lonzo Hardy Jr., President of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded on December 10, 1999 at the Sheraton Hotel in Birmingham, Alabama. Its mission is to serve as a rallying ground for individuals who have made the Southwestern Athletic Conference the illustrious conference that it is today. Its membership is open to former student athletes who have played in the conference in any sport, as well as to coaches, athletic administrators, staff members, game officials, and fans. Annually, the association holds a Legends Awards and Roast Banquet or Luncheon, where it honors individuals with Lifetime Achievement Awards, a Chuck Clark Wagon Master Award, and occasionally a Distinguished Service Award. Proceeds from that event help to finance degree completion scholarships for student athletes who have exhausted their playing eligibility at SWAC universities but who may still need an extra semester or two to complete their college studies. For more information on the SWAC Alumni Association or to get information on becoming a member, you can send correspondence to SWAC Alumni Association, 875 Miller Creek Lane, Newport News, Virginia, 23602. The email address is swacalumniassociation@yahoo.com.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. It's my pleasure to be joined by the first time, won't be the last time, especially after a terrific season in year number 2, Coach Sean Woods, head men's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach Woods, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
Well, it's a pleasure having you on, and we'll jump right into the conversation. Take your mind off of everything for at least less than 2 hours on the Carlos Brown Show. I just kind of mentioned about the improvement from year 1 to year 2 for Southern University men's basketball. Talk a little bit about that improvement in year 2, and I want everyone to remember 0-3 in conference to start off, conference play, and didn't lose but 2 games after that 13-5 second place regular season finish, Coach Woods.
Well, it was just we had 14 new players. We had a brand new team. And with that, it takes a while for everything to gel, them getting used to me, what we like to do, how we do, and also getting used to playing with each other. And the dynamic of the team was these guys had never won before. Most guys who transfer out, they transfer for a reason because they didn't play as much as they wanted to. They wasn't involved in success, negative or positively at the particular school they went to. So, these guys were inexperienced at winning. And, we had to do a whole bunch. We had to teach what we do And then also, these guys had to find a way to win together. And it took a minute. But once they got it and they tasted it, it was pretty much no looking back. And they became so focused with each other. 14 new guys coming from different places. None of them knew each other. And once they gelled, they started to love each other. They started to feel each other. And then success just brings another type of mentality. And they didn't want to let it go. And we went on a run because they became so hungry. And the goal was, and I sold it to them, you're only here to win a championship. We're here to, you get a second chance. But when you get a second chance, make a difference with it. Take advantage of it. And, because you left a place where they would think that you were was capable of helping them to succeed. Now you show them that you can go somewhere else and still have success. And they all bought into it. And once they figured it out, man, it was a beautiful thing. And they were beautiful guys to coach. And, it was the one thing they did not do was, even though we were struggling at the beginning, practice was always the same. They always brought it. So when you continue to work hard as they did, something good has to come out of it. And that's what you saw.
Coach, how, from the outside looking in, how hard is it or for when you get players to come in to buy into what you're trying to teach them? Is it an easy job, a hard job, or it just varies?
No, it's hard, because you got, the main thing is trust. You got 14 new guys, don't know each other. Just think if you walked into a room with 14 new people you didn't know, and y'all go to work together, would you be trusting them right off the bat? No. Just think how long it would take you in a working setting to trust somebody. And you're talking about a basketball team, and everybody wants to get theirs, and when they transfer to get theirs and have an opportunity, because young kids, all they think about, everybody thinks they're a pro. So, you got to get them to buy in defensively, buy in sharing the basketball, buy into the team concept. And, we were fortunate, but, that's one of the methods of my madness is I need guys that are team guys, that are overachievers, that lose themselves in the game and know how to make the right play. And we did a great job recruiting, and also then it still took them a while to buy in because they're still coming. They don't know me. They knew of me, but they don't know me. And I ain't the easiest guy to play for, and don't claim to be. But I'm a guy that,
I believe that, Coach.
But my expectations are high major. You know what I'm saying? I want every kid I coach to have the same experience I had as a college basketball player. And I thought I had one of the best experience playing college basketball at the University of Kentucky that you can have. And playing under some of the best coaches in the world. I played for Rick Pitino, who's an Hall of Famer, Billy Donovan, two-time NCAA champion, Tubby Smith, NCAA champion, Hall of Famer potentially, Herb Sendak, Ralph Willard, and then I coach with some of the best also. So I've been blessed, and I just took what I've learned from those particular individuals and try to mold it into what I do, because everything they do has been successful. So why should I change it? I am not inventing the wheel. I'm just continuing what I learned throughout my fortunate experience of being a college basketball player, being a basketball player, period.
Buy into the program, going back again to what a turnaround from year one to year two, visiting with Coach Sean Woods, head men's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach, was there a certain point in the season that you could point to, or as you stated earlier, just overall, this team just came together and gelled and wanted to win? But was there a certain point in that you could think of?
At the beginning, defensively, we were always there. Playing hard, we was always there. We just didn't know how to play. And we didn't know how to play together. And the main thing is we didn't know how to win. I mean, even the pre-conference, we, on a brutal schedule, we were pretty much ahead at most points, in every game, but we just couldn't finish. And we get in the league, the first game, we played all those games on the road, but my first two games on the road at the toughest two places in the league to play, Texas Southern and Prairie View.
Yeah.
and we played Texas Southern. You know what I'm saying? We had to get up on them and just didn't know how to win. Let that go on the road. Okay, so from a mental standpoint, we were kind of down because, you know, you coming in thinking, okay, everybody has struggled in the pre-conference, but we're going to be the team to beat in the conference. Well, you lose that game, and mentally you're not there. You go into Prairie View, not ready to play, and they're excited, and they jumped out on us quick, and, you know, the first 3 minutes, and after that, it was even. We're okay, we regroup, we say, okay, we go back home, and we got Grambling. We dropped that one. That's when it changed, because now they got mad. They were mad. It was like, we're not doing this anymore. And from then on, we didn't look back. We won 6 in a row. And then we dropped 2 at Jackson State. We got 1 at Jackson State, and we won at Grambling again, up all game, and then lose. And then after that, we had a come to Jesus meeting. We stayed in the locker room at Jackson State for 2 hours after the game before we drove off. And from then on, we didn't miss a beat. You know, it was on, and it was not only was it on, these guys became dominant. You know, they made sure that they're not losing, giving up any more games. And you know, that's when the scores start increasing from a margin of victory.
Well, that was a run. Finished the season on a 8-game winning streak. And, Coach, while we have you here, I mean, hey, thoughts on the chances in the Southwestern Athletic Conference tournament? You won a quarterfinal game against Alabama State. Is that something that you and your players talk about since the season's over with, about what if and your chances in the Southwestern Athletic Conference tournament?
It'll always be what if with this team. Always.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were playing so good, you know, and you know, I feel for these guys because they were all bought in. Things were just, you know, heading in the right direction, and we all were liking our chances going into semifinals and finals of the tournament. That we had a great chance of winning it, and you know, for that to just be stopped abruptly like it has, you know, under these circumstances, which, you know, everybody understands. But these guys were hungry, and they're hurt because it's like, okay, we had a great run, and we didn't get to finish it, and we have nothing to show for it.
Yeah, well, from the outside looking in, 8-game winning streak, that last regular season game, and I said last week on the show, I kind of cringed a little bit, but then I did understand the enthusiasm and excitement after that win against Prairie View at home at the F.G. Clark Activity Center, 89-80. But man, the emotion, I like the chances. Many people predicted, hey, could be another matchup between Southern and Prairie View in the men's championship. But we'll never know. But very interesting the way you ended the regular season, Coach.
Well, you know, we were blessed, and I was blessed to coach some good guys, man, that was hungry and humble, and took my coaching and bought into what we were trying to do. And it became a beautiful thing once they got it, once they learned what the method of the madness was. And, you know, I thought defensively we were just as good as anybody in the country. And we started to rebound the ball much better. And then, you know, we started to really take advantage of our good defense by converting offensively, especially in transition.
We're visiting with Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach, some listeners have a couple of questions. How good can Burns be? That's from a listener in Houston.
DJ Burns?
Demary Burns.
Demary Burns, he has the opportunity. His ceiling is high. I think he could be, you know, with his determination and his motor, he can be one of the better players to play at Southern University. I mean, he's got something that you can't teach. You know, you can't kill his spirits. He's the ultimate competitor, and he's got a motor that just won't stop.
Yeah. I even noticed Coach on the bench, his enthusiasm when he's not in the game, and I had to realize, wait a minute, he's still a freshman. he has an upward ceiling, most definitely. Another listener wanted to know, if you could, how is recruiting going for basketball for next year?
Well, we're involved with, we only need, we get, the beauty of our team is we only lose 2 guys.
Yeah.
So we need 2, we got to get 2 guys to replace Big Mel, and also Bede, our 2 bigs. But, we got, our second team was just as good as our first team. So we got to get size to replace those 2 guys. And I feel sorry for those 2 guys because, this is the best college experience they've had in their career. And for it to abruptly, come to a halt like that is devastating for them. But that's what we got to get. We got to get, a couple more guys inside. But other than that, our guard plays back. Everybody else is back. So very optimistic about next year. Unfortunate that this year ended the way it did. But, Southern Miss basketball is back on the rise, and we plan to continue for it to be that way.
Coach, during this downtime, of course, the coronavirus and the way things are up had to end. Is it affecting your off season program as far as with Southern University basketball?
Well, up to date, we would just be finishing, so we would be off anyway. But after a week or 2, if this thing continues to go, it's going to start to get into what makes me successful as a coach. Because I get better in the off season. My teams are the way they are because of what we do in the off season, and I need this off season. I need summer school. I need postseason workouts. I need preseason workouts because. I come from the Rick Pitino, where individual workouts is key. Individual improvement is key. And, basketball is a skill, and you got to continue to enhance that skill. That's how guys get better. And, I got to find a way and be creative throughout this so we don't miss out on that. And I pray to God that this thing goes away before summer school starts because that's a major component in the success of what I do and how I do.
We're visiting with Coach Sean Woods, a men's basketball coach at Southern University. Coach, the state of Louisiana, your thoughts on the talent-wise that you found here as far as, basketball talent?
Well, it's enough talent, you know what I'm saying? There's enough talent. There's enough schools and colleges in the state of Louisiana to make sure the talent there is enough talent in the state. No, I think the state of Louisiana is rich in basketball talent, no doubt about it. We just got to continue to improve our brand, and I think we're in the right direction to make Southern University attractive to get some of the players that traditionally they wouldn't get because we're a SWAC school. So, I want to compete and go into homes and be able to beat out, all the mid-major teams. Because I think our product is just as good as any mid-major product in the state of Louisiana. You got LSU, but, you take that away. I think our program and the tradition that we've had here at Southern University throughout the years is just as good. And the experience that you have here at Southern University is just as good or better than most of the experiences, I think, at other institutions in the state of Louisiana.
I understand that. Coach, you have a director of athletics who is a basketball guy. I still refer to him as coach. How much of an advantage is that for you coming into a situation like this at Southern University?
Oh, it's a great advantage. Randy and I have been buddies and friends for almost 20 years, and we think a lot alike. So I'm blessed. Most times when you get a head job, you go in there and you pretty much attracted or recruited or even hired by a search firm. And then you come into a university and you're working with and for an AD that you don't even know. Well, that's not the case for me, and it's a beauty. And and to have Raymond as my AD, I think Raymond Banks is one of the better up and coming ADs in the country. I think he's trending. I think he's taken Southern athletics to a place it hasn't been before, to the new millennium, and it's only going to get better.
Visiting with Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. Dr. Prince, I'm sure you want to ask the great Coach Sean Woods a question.
Yes, sir, and I do thank you for allowing me to do so, sir. Coach, I want to go back to when you were talking about your team got mad after the loss to Grambling. Then you had to come into Jesus meeting. Now, was that, when you were held 2 hours over, was that a coach-led meeting or was it a players-led meeting? And then I have a question after that.
It was both, I just, I told them we're better than this, and we're better than this, and we got to stop getting in our own way. And, we're coaching. People don't understand. You have these meetings, throughout the course of the year because the season is so long, and you have ups and downs and peaks and valleys. And the main thing is it's a growing situation. And, we took every loss, every win as a learning experience. And my question was, why? Why are we in this position? We're playing too hard. You guys come to practice and you're working too hard to just give games away. And we were just trying to figure out why, from a mental standpoint, in the second half, we would have lulls to get us in trouble. And then it would be just a snowball effect.
Absolutely.
And once we figured that out, we never looked back, and it became fun. And the thing about winning is, if you're not having fun playing, doing what you're doing, it's always going to be a grind. Well, it was never a grind. It was just new. That's the difference. These guys were always bought in. They just didn't know how to win. They're in a new deal, in a new system, being coached different, held accountable more than they've ever been held accountable before, on and off the court. So it was an adjustment for all of them.
Right.
And once they got it, it was a beautiful thing.
And that was my next point, because it's like you can talk, and then I'm assuming from outside looking in that true buy-in was that 2 hour holdover, and then the magic really became to come to light. And then that's when you say, now we're headed in the right direction. And that's a beautiful thing to see as a coach, to see all of your instructions come to life.
You're exactly right. And the coaches, we're always trying to push the right buttons and to continue to push the right buttons, And look at the top teams in the country. They have roles, they have ups and downs. But at the time, once we got it, I thought we were in the top 5 hottest teams not only in the SWAC, but in the country. We were 14 out of our last 16 games, okay, and we were heading in the right direction. And not only were we winning in a convincing fashion. And, I was comparing our team to like Dayton and East Tennessee State, teams like that who were going on runs and played almost similar to me. My deal is built on toughness and trying to pose my team's trying to pose their will in the other team. And we started to do that. And the guys started to see it and feel it, because most of the teams in the league were starting to peak, get fatigued a little bit, injuries starting to come in a little bit, knickknacks, this and that, locker room's not as strong, coming down the stretch, and we had none of that. Our locker room was strong as ever. We were strong mentally and physically as ever. We were in great shape. And the thing about it is, we were one cohesive group. Whether I'm one of there's only 3 schools in the country who didn't have a person who averaged double figures. I had one person on my team who averaged double figures. Not one.
Yes, sir. Coach True assessment of the team.
And I had no one who made first or second team all SWAC.
Well,
so that's a total team buy-in,
Yeah.
That's a total team That's a total team buy-in.
Very much
so. And I just tip my hat up to those guys. They were fun to coach. even through the tough times, I never not wanted to come to practice, wanted to come to work because I saw them getting better. It just wasn't showing up in the win column. But once that thing started showing up in the win column, they started to feel good about themselves, and they refused to lose. They wanted to pose their will on everybody. I mean, they were just looking forward to how can we dominate the next team, especially defensively.
Well, we were joking before this interview took place. The outlook for next season, Coach, in spite of what happened, second in the regular season, a good victory over Prairie View A&M in the last regular season game. What's the outlook for this team going forward? Bigger and brighter days ahead, according to Coach Sean Woods?
It's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. And, my work is never done. And I'm having a great time coaching here at Southern University. And, I play at the University of Kentucky, so, I play under great expectations. And Southern has great expectations, and it's a match made in heaven. And I'm having fun, Never thought I'd be back in the SWAC again, but, working with, a person who's been there and done that before, makes my job even easier. And, the guys that I got is made my job easier too. So, but it's only going to get better. And, when I went to Mississippi Valley, I didn't stay there long enough, and my goal was to make it the Gonzaga of the South. Well, my goals haven't changed here at Southern University.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, it's been a pleasure talking with you. And on a humorous note, at several basketball games, and you're right, you're intense, and you have the little coach's box where.
What coach's box? What is that?
Coach has.
Listen, I don't see no box on the sideline, man. You see a box on the sideline?
Look,
they keep saying this coach's box. I keep looking for it. That's why I keep moving around. I go down almost to the other coach's bench. I'm still looking for that box.
Well, Coach,
I ain't found it yet.
Coach, that was my point. I'm like, he's on the court. Look out! And not one time that I've ever seen a referee tell you, watch where you're at. You're so into the game. You literally, one game, you were right in front of a player. And I'm like, wow, that player's going to get hurt.
Hey, ref came past me one time and said, Coach, can you get out of my way, man? I said, man, what are you doing? You selfish? You want the court all by yourself? That's a big old court, 90 by 40. And you can't share it. You're just one human being.
Well, I tell you what,
I have fun with it, man. I was a player, and I was a very intense and enthusiastic guy, but I learned from some of the best, man. And, I just can't see how you can coach young men and not be enthusiastic and passionate about what you're doing. And I just can't be passionate sitting my butt down in a chair and watching, 10 guys run up and down the court. That's hard for me.
Well, I understand. I just thought that was really interesting to see where you utilize every inch of the court. It's been a pleasure having you on. Let's do this again real soon. Best of luck in the off season. And by the way, thanks for that 89-80 victory over the Prairie View A&M Panthers. Now I can gloat a little bit because Dr. Prince is a Prairie View A&M guy.
There you go.
But to your staff and everyone, take care in this time. And, Coach, we'll talk with you real soon.
Hey, you guys stay safe, too, and I appreciate you. And anytime you need me, let me know. I'm always here, man.
I will take you up on that. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. That was Coach Sean Woods, men's basketball coach at Southern University. And hard work, intense, and the team bought in and they improved. That's not an understatement. They really did an outstanding job. And if you remember, Dr. Prince, I came on the show earlier in the season, and I think it was after that Prairie View loss. Don't panic. Don't give up on this team. And I actually said, that next year is the year I really see them making a move. And guess what? They did it this past season. So the future looks bright for Southern University men's basketball.
It does.
Are you all right, Dr. Penn?
I'm fine, man. I was just letting you all bask in your glory, and I. It's not like Prairie View was number 5 in the conference. Well, I had to. You gave me a cup check without a warning, so you hit me below the belt on there. But that's okay, though. That's okay. Every dog has its day, and a good one.
Okay. The referee says take a point. Like in boxing, take a point. How about 2 points? Take 2 points away from Carlos Brown.
I said, that's okay though. I'm not gonna bring up the fact 19 and 11 though.
Oh no, I did give them credit for winning the regular season.
But that parting shot. Thanks for that 89-80 victory over Prairie View. I felt that one. So
I understand, but I remember that was a fact, not just opinion.
Sure. Just like the fact we are the champions. So carry on.
Oh boy, this is therapy. I guess so. Well, I'm going to take a time out and go check in with Coach Pettaway, Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. See how he's doing. We'll visit with him, and then following that, it'll be Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network joining me in today's Carlos Brown Show. So, quick time out. We'll be back. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Waller ISD has suspended normal operations through April 13th due to COVID-19. The district is providing frequent updates to staff, students, parents, families, and community members. Find details at wisd.fyi/COVID-19 info and its official social media outlet. Waller ISD and the Houston Food Bank are partnering to provide free food to families via community market distributions. Distributions are currently scheduled for March 23rd at 3:30 p.m., March 24th at 3:30 p.m., and March 26th at 1:30 p.m. These will be held at Waller ISD Stadium. For more information, visit wallerisd.net.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to hour number 1 of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Oh, yeah, I'm getting comments about, somebody had the nerve to say I took a shot. Now, I know Dr. Brent said I took a shot, but guess who's going to save me as usual? Our next guest, Coach Van Pettaway men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M. Coach, I tell you, some of these people are so sensitive, they couldn't have played for you. My goodness. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody?
Well, we're doing fine, and hopefully you're doing fine and everybody else kind of having a chance to step back from what's going on outside the sports world that has affected the sports world, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, we need this time. We need this time to reflect. We need this time to get away. You want to try to keep things as normal as possible, and talking about sports and things that we've seen and things that we want to see. I think it helps. You need this. Sir. You need this break, and especially today with this virus and all the things that it's bringing, all the changes it has made. So we need this break.
Yes, sir. And I was thinking earlier in the week, thinking about some of the coaches and some of the players that have come through the league as far as basketball-wise. And I know on previous shows I've kind of asked you about, some of the toughest places to play in the conference and some of the teams where there was always a battle going on as far as basketball. But if you have talked to coaches and former coaches, how are they dealing with this time, where you don't have any sports going on, in which many of former players and coaches, particular coaches, usually they're real busy at this time, and now they've got to adjust.
I think the biggest adjustment they're gonna have is you're not gonna be around your players. I mean, that's what we live for. That's the excitement that we have as coaches, watching these young men and ladies on the women's side mature and become better, be better as they put the work in that they need in their different crafts. So I think as a coach, the biggest thing you're gonna miss is being around your people, and that's tough to replace now. And I think right now the only thing that you got going in your favor, is a telephone. You can talk to them, but it's nothing like being present or being there in person. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you'll miss. And of course, this time of the year, the playoffs would have been wide open in terms of the bracket, the NC2A bracket. So all of our coaches at this point in the season, you either playing or you just finished your season, and now you're looking forward to the Final Four for the meeting, your professional workshops and developments and stuff like that. So this is a very tough time for the basketball coaches making that adjustment.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, Coach, because I just talked to Coach Woods before you, and he kind of relayed the same message. It's tough, and he talked particularly about what if. People had made predictions. Southern on the 8-game winning streak, and now all you can do is and ask them the question. You say they think about it all the time. I mean, I guess you could put the information in the computer and let the computer spit out who they thought would win, but it was going to be an interesting tournament. Regular season champion, Prairie View.
Hold on, Coach. Hold on. Whose computer was you going to put it in?
I could ask.
The outcome would depend on the information inputted into that computer.
Whose computer gonna be happy?
Well, it wouldn't be me. That's for sure. Let me make that crystal clear.
I don't know. You throwing shots early in the morning, man. That's all.
Yeah. But you know what? This is a fact, though. Prairie View and Southern were the two best teams on the men's side in the league by far. Southern's defense, I don't know if you all remember me saying this, but after I saw them in person and how they annihilated Alabama A&M on the defensive end of the floor, I mean, I've seen them on tape. I mean, I've seen some of the games that have been streamed, but just to see them in person, apply that pressure and make them throw that ball all over the floor, man, that was something to see. Now that's the most pressure that I've seen in quite some time in the SWAC. And I said that early on. I said with their defense, they're gonna always be in the games. All they got to do is find a way of closing them out. And they, to me, they did that because I think down the stretch they won 8 in a row.
Yes,
they beat the top 2 teams that were supposed to be ahead of them. So they were playing well, and it would have been very interesting to see those 2 teams in the SWAC championship on a neutral site. That would have been very, very interesting. And then you talking about Coach Woods with a team that he doesn't even have a signature player. I mean, and when you look at the All-Conference Awards, I don't think he had a player on there. And then I told you all this early in the year when they had the showdown with Alcorn. You talking about a team that does not have a double-digit score. So how do you prepare? That is tough to prepare for because you can't just. Most of the time in a scout report, we got 2 or 3 players that we key in on because they're leading their teams, right? But when you got a team that doesn't have a person out front, that's tough to do. You got to prepare for a whole team. It's not enough time.
Interesting.
Yep, it's not enough time.
And he made when I asked him about recruiting needs or the outlook for the program, he says basically, I'm interpreting his answer as this. For a fact, he said he's only losing 2 people. So the future looks bright. Would there be any pressure after not picked to do well by the prognosticators? You finished second in the regular season and you're trending up. Is there any pitfalls you can see of? Or would you love being in that position yourself, Coach?
Well, I think I would love being in that position because you already know that you're one of the better teams in the league. And then what you'll be counting on for this summer, this offseason, you want your players to continue to improve. You want them to get better going into next year. Then you say you only got 2 slots where you try to fill those slots. And if the coaches in the league did this right, with Prairie View having the amount of seniors that they had this year, even though they won the championship, in my opinion, Southern should be the preseason favorite because you got most of your entire team back. You finished the season on an 8-game winning streak, and then the team that finished ahead of you, they had some major pieces that won't be there next year. Now, Prairie View's they're gonna miss their seniors, and so in my opinion, Southern should be the preseason favorite next year.
Well, how ironic! And Dr. Prince, don't feel that this is orchestrated, but I'm just going to give Jack's first name, Jack, a listener, and we appreciate you listening. He said, he gives his top teams, but he said, ask Coach who would be his top 3 SWAC men's and women's team going into next season.
Oh, okay. Well, to me, Southern's men would be there. I think Prairie View is not going to drop off the face of the earth. So I had to put them back up there. And then I think in the top, that third team, that to me would be a toss-up between probably, I would have to try to go with Alcorn again. Hopefully they won't have that big of a drop-off. But that would be my pick on the men's side. On the women's side, I would have to put Jackson State back up there because it's my understanding that they're going to have a great nucleus coming back. I think one of the sleeper teams on the women's side next year is going to be Alabama A&M, so I would have to put them up there. And then, of course, I would have to go with Southern again. So that would be my 3 on the women's side.
Okay.
But you really won't really know this until you find out who's coming back because with this portal now, kids are transferring out. You would have to wait until the dust settles to really pick those teams. So see, I would have to do that a little bit later in the summer after I find out who's coming back, and I mean who's staying in place and who's moving on.
Yeah, well, we could say Coach Pettaway's early preseason. Emphasize that.
Yeah, the preseason. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, good one. And then you come back after all of this that's going on now. It gets settled, and hopefully things will be better by midsummer, because if not, sports will still take a back seat to other things that are going on.
Right, and then see on the basketball side, and especially in the SWAC, we need summer school. We need the postseason workouts.
Yeah,
you gotta have all those have to come into play to help our players to prepare for that fall. See, so this summer, this virus has to get out of here so that we can get back to normal, so kids can get back to summer school, so the coaches will have access to them to help develop their games. And I think if we can get that back, you're going to see some great basketball next year in the SWAC.
Yeah,
I think you'll see another great season.
Yeah, I hope you're right on that, and I believe you're right. You need to get back to a normal sense of the sports world, but it'll be very interesting. But Jack, thanks for that question. And now you oh, okay. Yeah, Jack's top three. Well, okay, I have that for you. It's magic, I tell you. He says his top three. Let's start with the women first. He had Alabama A&M 1, second Southern, and third Texas Southern. So Jackie didn't have Jackson State in there. Now, if I would say that, it would be blasphemy. On the men's side, he has Southern 1, Texas Southern 2, and Alabama State 3rd.
Wow. With the Roche and all them gone, I don't know if Alabama State gonna make that jump. No, I'm saying he he's their motor, and he's a senior. Yeah.
So the men's side.
Yeah, on the men's side, yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and if you look back, you look at a season where there's adversity. Southern started 0-3. Then you remember Jackson State went on a nice run, like a 4-game winning streak. Alabama State went right past the middle of the conference season, went on a huge winning streak, and then they dropped what? 5?
Wow!
Five,
yeah, they dropped off. Yeah, they won 5 in a row and then lost 5 in a row.
Goodness. So, yeah, but balance. But boy, a losing streak at the wrong time could get you. I mean, at any time, I understand that, but I guess I would rather lose early if I had a losing streak than late.
Yeah, that is true. Now you don't want to lose late. See, that's one of the things that concern me about PV Prairie View down the stretch. If you take their last 5 or 6 games, they lost a lot of games in there. They lost a lot of momentum, and to me, it all started because they won that championship so early. They clinched that championship. You think about this now. I watched their celebration until they cut the stream off. They beat Alabama A&M. They had a big celebration. They brought the stage out on the floor and everything. They had that big celebration. And then after that, they started losing. They lost their edge. They lost their edge down the stretch. That's what made me, as a coach, feel that Southern really had a chance of winning that tournament because Prairie View was not playing their best basketball down the stretch. But we'll never know, though, because it did not materialize.
Well, I understand, and in hour number 1, I shared with the audience that I've talked to. I don't think I said the school's supporters, but I'll say it now. Alcorn State. I've talked to some of their fans, and they're concerned with. I'll put it that way. They're concerned with their basketball season. I mean, if you look at it technically, they were not picked to do well, but they both teams made it into the tournament. Coach Fenaway, their concerns, are they legitimate in your eyes?
Well, you gotta. I don't know about injuries. I don't know about defections. Okay, all those cards have to be laid out in front of me before I would say that they should be concerned. I think any alumni, when a program's not winning, they're gonna show some concern. I mean, right now, all they can rely on is their football program. Okay, football drives the ship in most of the SWAC schools anyway. If most programs, if the football team is winning, they think they have a successful program. They're not even looking at the other programs and the other athletic teams.
And that's an interesting point, Coach Pettaway. Sorry to cut you off, but the person I'm talking to, they echoed that point you just made, and we talked about in hour number one. I think both the coaches are up for either renewals or you may go in another direction. And one of their points was to me that exactly what you said. It's football, but they want to dominate in other sports or do well.
Okay, but here's the thing now in this SWAC and especially black schools now, are we giving the other coaches what they need to be successful now? Because when you look at this thing now, you take Alabama State. If I'm not mistaken, they've probably won that Commissioner's Cup for like 3 or maybe 4 years in a row. But you look at where they're getting their points from. They're not getting them from football and basketball. See, the point system is weighted. You get more points for your football team winning the championship. The next highest would be basketball, men's basketball. All right, Alabama State's winning that trophy, but they're getting their points from track and field, cross country, volleyball. They getting points. They're not even getting points in football and basketball, and they're still winning the program. So, as alumni, you got to look at: do we want an all-around program, or do we just want our favorite sport to win? That's the problem that you have at most HBCUs. We pick a side, and as long as that side is doing well, we're okay. Now, when it's not doing well, we're gonna bring some heat. But the biggest thing is now, are we giving the coaches what they need to be successful? Most of the schools in the SWAC, I hate to say this. Well, I don't hate to say it because I'm not coaching anymore. They're going to give football what they need to be successful. Mm-hmm. The other sports are not getting it. And I'm telling you that because I've experienced that now. We won in basketball, but we never had everything that we needed. We never had it. And that same thing happens at a lot of schools. They're not getting enough, and we on the outside. All we doing is looking at the losses. We're not seeing why these losses coming up. Do they have a recruiting budget? Do they have all their scholarships? Do they have the academic support that they need to keep these kids eligible? The coaches can't go in the classrooms anymore. They can't check on students like we used to in the old days. So if your students are not, if you're bringing in good kids and they're not eligible the next year, that's killing your program. If you don't have enough scholarships where you can keep your classes balanced, that's killing your program.
Yeah.
So you got to look at. It's hard to just sit up and say that, okay, they need to make this change and make that change when you don't know all the particulars. I don't know what those basketball programs and the other sports at Alcorn have. But I do know this. Mm-hmm. I guarantee you that Coach McNair got what he needs.
Oh, goodness, yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that term till the football season starts. How about that? No more. But to your point, it's well taken. After the conference Commissioner's Cup, all sports, who has the best sports programs, and that is Alabama State.
When's the last time they won a football championship? When's the last time they won a basketball championship?
It's been a long time.
Right.
Go ahead.
Coach, now that you brought it up, in all fairness and honesty, can we look at the Commissioner Cup with full face value because all teams don't compete in all sports. So therefore, it's really between 3 or 4 institutions that even qualify to legitimately win the Commissioner's Cup. So does it even have the value that it once upon a time did?
I think you have a very, very valid point because some of the schools aren't playing. We're not across the board in all the different sports. But I guess it's just like winning a track championship. You don't have to have a first place finish in every event to win a championship. You just got to have points. Yeah, you got to get points in multiple events. So the schools that don't have let's say soccer, then they got to pull points from another area, another sport. You got to do it with that golf team. You got to do it with your cross country team. You got to do it with your volleyball team. So it's got to be up. Other sports is bringing in points, but at the same time, all the schools do not have all the exact same sports.
So with that being said, do you think we should recategorize according to the number of sports you have, like have a bracket and a B bracket and compare it like that?
Well, yes, you could do that. I think that would be a great idea. But I don't see them doing that because of tradition.
Well, all traditions are not good,
Yeah, that's true.
And they're not healthy, because it used to be a time that the 3 of us as African-American men, and we were caught looking in the direction of an Anglo-Saxon, we'd be hanging from a sycamore tree. That was a tradition.
Right, that's true. That is true.
So
that is true.
I was just thinking out loud about that because we do put a lot of credence on that because it's a proud moment. We won a Commissioner's Cup, but if I only got 3 schools that have 18 sports, then I got a pretty good odds of winning the Commissioner's Cup year in and year out.
Right, that's true. That is, if your teams have to finish in the top 4 to get points, though. I think.
Yes,
yeah. So your team's got to finish high enough in the final rankings in order to pull points. So if you got 18 sports, that means that you spread out 4 more sports than I do. If my 14 can just still give me points, earn me some points, I still got a chance of winning that cup now.
Right, I know, and I just think it's just a false comfort zone that I think we need to reevaluate as a conference. That's
right. I think you shouldn't put so much emphasis on that. Is what I think we're trying to say. Maybe all the emphasis shouldn't be put on that Commissioner's Cup because of the inequality in the different at the different schools. But and see, that takes me back to when they talk about a coach being on a hot seat. I can't put a coach on a hot seat unless I know that they've got everything they need to be successful. I'll never do that until you can show me that, hey, no, here you go, coach. They got it all. Here's his recruitment. Here's their recruiting budget. Here's their scholarships. Here's their staff ratio. They got everything. They got everything. And then we got one of the best facilities in the SWAC. Okay, so now if you show me all of these, then I have a comment about a coach's future. But until I can see it all, I would never do that to one of my, not just basketball, that's any coach. Mm-hmm. Because, our job is already hard enough. We're here we're teachers, number one, because we're not just teaching our sport, we're teaching life. We're teaching these young men and young women how to be productive citizens. So it goes beyond just that particular sport that we're coaching. So our job is already hard enough. And then our success a lot of the times depends on other people. See, when you can't control your own destiny, then it's kind of tough. Because, see, I need that advisor to help me get my kids in the right classes. I need those tutors to be there, to be available to help my kids who are struggling in their classes. I need that cafeteria to stay open so that we can get a good practice in, but at the same time, these kids can get fed. You know, I need that business office to go ahead and get my stuff out so that my coaches can get out and recruit. You know, I need that business manager to get that ticket because this is the only time that this kid can make this visit. Okay, all that stuff I just named, that's out of our control, but it affects our programs. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people don't see. It is that you cannot name a coach that does it all. He can't. He cannot do it all. He's got to have other people in place that are looking at, who have their eye on the exact same prize. Oh, and wow. And we all got to know that this is what we have to do to get there. And we all got to be pulling in the same direction. Wow. So there are too many variables for us to be, pointing the finger just at a coach. Is the system in place for all of us to be successful?
Point well taken. And I guess when I talk back to that person, maybe they should have a private conversation in-house with the administrators and the AD. And maybe they could, relay that same message.
Right. Make sure everything is in place before we start talking about it's time to make a change.
Well, I guess I should. No. I'm trying to be facetious about it, but I'm not gonna go there, Coach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, second place. And I'm being such a hard behind.
No, that's translation. You just got him, Coach. That's all that is.
No.
You just got him. He over there saying ouch right now, Coach. That's what
no, that was not my intention. Really. I thought you was asking me.
No, Coach, there's no need to apologize.
No,
there's no need to apologize.
Everything you said, I agree with, but there's that big but. The fire will still be under certain people.
See, it might not be hot, but it's going to get warm.
Yeah, well, fans are fanatics, whether we're wrong or right sometimes. But point well taken, Coach Pettaway. Point well taken. Coach, we're going to run now, but I look forward to talking with you next week.
Okay, I'll be here, guys.
To the wise. Coach Pettaway, we love you.
All right, man. Thanks. And hey, fellas, let's everybody be safe, man, and let's have a blessed week. And I'll talk to you guys next week.
Well said again, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Well, we got to do some. We got to be flexible here now. Let's see if Charles Evans is available, and I'll deal with you during that break, mister. You got to laugh a little bit. I don't take things personal, and it wasn't personal, but point well taken by Coach Pettaway. Sometimes you just got to listen. You got to listen. So remember that, Brother Prince. You got to listen sometimes. So we're going to take a time out. Well, he's falling out. We'll take a time out. Oh, this is therapy. When we come back, hopefully, we'll talk with Charles Edmond. We did run over, but you can't say no to Coach Pettaway. And it's possible. Speaking of coaches, last week, I didn't get into it, and hopefully I can get into it this week before the show is over with. Southern University Coach Odom. So at least give you the names of the 5 coaches that he has hired. Now, you're talking about someone that's doing a balancing act. You hired 5 coaches, and then this situation happened, and I'm sure these coaches are looking at film, but boy, valuable time in a perfect world, they would be getting ready to have spring practice. Now, with that being said, they have to wait. Interesting. Very interesting. But let me take a time out. Charles Edmond, hopefully, is next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
Chris, can you put the video game controller down for a second? I can talk and play. Oh, I'm totally annihilating this punk kid in Nebraska.
I just feel like you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
Well, you still ride your skateboard to work. There's the comic book collection, the race car bed.
Look, I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I picked up a few savings tips at feedthepig.org. I have control over my financial life now, and that feels pretty grown up.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. Putting some money from every paycheck into a savings account or contributing to your 401k can make a big difference later. For free ideas and easy tips on ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
So, I bet I look like a grown-up to you now.
Well, except for the footy pajamas, I'd have to agree.
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. We were able to find our next guest, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network. Charles, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, Charles, but I am concerned about you. I was thinking about you again earlier. For 30 years, and I've had too many years onto it, but you're busy at this time of the year, and you've had to make an adjustment. So I'm concerned. Hopefully you're doing well.
I'm hanging in there.
As can be expected.
It's tough. I've been doing baseball since 1995. And that was during that time, if you remember, that's when they had the SWAC Spring Sports Festival, where they had baseball, track, softball, all that in New Orleans. Remember that?
Oh, my. Charles, beautiful time, and guess what? Great athletic event, but it was an opportunity to me and my friend who was listening to just wreak havoc on Jackson State fans. That was the best part down in New Orleans. I never pass up a chance to stick it to them, because they will stick it to you. Trust me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a fun time, and just to show you the different mindsets at that time. I mean, I understand. You can step back and look at it 25 years ago, and you understand the concept. You want everything in one place, in one space, where you could bounce around and enjoy it all. So you understood the concept at the time. But yes, during this time of year, I would be getting ready for a baseball series. I think we might be off this weekend. We would have played Bama State last weekend. So it's been tough. I've been cleaning up around the house. I've been doing chores. I've been sweeping and mopping and dusting and doing other stuff that I have to say, stuff that I normally wouldn't be doing if we were in the rhythm of things. But you got to find time to pass the time away. Actually, Carlos, as I'm talking to you, and this is kind of more of a serious note, for 30 years, I've been working off and on part-time at grocery stores. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually doing that now, as a matter of fact. I'm on a little break. So I am in these grocery stores, and I've worked at 4 different grocery stores off and on over the years. And I'm dealing with, I'm at a grocery store now, and you've been reading on the news about how items are available and not available. It's pretty tough out here. I mean, water, paper goods, everything that you read and hear about on the news, it is true. People are scrambling all over this town trying to find just the basic stuff. Now, people are hoarding stuff. There's no doubt about it. But, people are just trying to find the basic needs. So what they're telling you on television, get what you need, get what you got to get a bite to eat and stay at home. I think those warnings ought to be heeded as we try to, as they say, stem the curve and try to get through this. Because if we don't, it's going to get worse. Sports is going to be not as much of a factor. And, right now is the time to catch it before it gets worse. But it is getting worse. So we just got to do the best we can.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it may have to peak and get worse before it gets better. But continued prayer for all of you all, to make it through, because it's kind of been a tough time, and that's why I say in an hour, number one, To me, this is therapy. A chance during this 2 hours to just kind of get away from that, which means those troublesome that troublesome time, and have a chance to just block that out if you can. And we'll continue to accept the challenge of trying to be that for everyone out there. I'm working on a huge one for next Saturday. Huge. An iconic figure in the history of this conference. More details coming. But that's not to say you're not iconic, Charles. You've been working in this conference for a long time, and I kid the Jackson State fans, but because they're passionate. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and see what you see is looking right back at you. You see yourself.
Yeah.
And in all the years that you've done broadcasting, I'm sure that you can pinpoint certain moments where the fans, for the most part, have been outstanding towards you. I know you've shared about your fondness of Baton Rouge and, being welcomed all the time in Baton Rouge. But I'm sure you've seen some things over the years in this conference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even the passion of my school, Alcorn State University, and the passion towards the Alcorn-Jackson rivalry. I mean, I've had the best and the worst of it. The worst of it was there was a year in which we went 0-11, and it got so bad to where fans were picketing with protest signs, picketing for a change behind Jack Spinks-Marino Castle Stadium. Yes, it was that bad. And we just weren't good in football. I mean, our head coach at the time was busting his tail trying to put it all together and trying to get everybody, rally the troops, all that stuff, and it just didn't happen, and people were very upset about that. So I've seen the worst of that. Of course, we're in the best of times now with the 6 straight division titles and the Celebration Bowl appearances. But I've also seen how some people take rivalries so seriously to where, and I've shared this with you, the first time that we won the championship, and yet we lost to Jackson State. We won the division, but we lost to Jackson State, and we wound up winning the SWAC. And some of our Alcorn fans said, in my opinion, that's a half a championship, only because of the fact that we didn't beat Jackson State. So that's how brutal the Alcorn-Jackson rivalry is. I mean, nothing else matters if you don't beat Jackson. And that's kind of the frustration as far as basketball. I mean, we lost to Jackson State 3 times in basketball this season, and that's obviously a tough pill to deal with. So when it comes to rivalry, and I was schooled a few weeks ago in New Orleans, talking to a Jaguar football fan and a Grambling football fan, and neither one of them were happy. Of course, we know why the Jaguar fan wasn't happy. And we know why the Grambling fan wasn't happy, because they had lost to Southern 2 years in the Bayou Classic. So, and at the end of the conversation, they said, "Welcome to big time football in the state of Louisiana. Welcome." I mean,
that happened at a baseball game. I'm not surprised.
That happened at a baseball game. We're talking football. I mean, I was just kind of sucking and jiving with them, but it started out that way. But then when they start digging into the nuts and bolts of what's been happening and what's not happening and why they're not beating Southern and why Southern's not beating Alcorn, it got pretty serious. And I got a pretty good education on that. I knew it was that intense, but I didn't think it was that intense. So and I'm sure it's still festering right now as we're trying to figure out what to do with ourselves. And I'm sure that those conversations are coming up as you're looking at these YouTube videos and replaying these games. I'm sure all that stuff has come up.
I'm going to be watching again. 2019 SWAC Championship, probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, public service announcement, YouTube, videos, you can watch just about basically your team every game last year. That's something to do since there's no sports going on. Some classic games. Guess what I watched the other night, Charles?
What's that?
The 1999 SWAC football championship.
Wow.
University and Jackson State. I'm actually on the clip when they're interviewing Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
You'll see me in the booth next, a clear shot, glasses, a Southern hat, and I had hair then, a nice flat top fade. True story. I'm serious.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean the passion. All fans are passionate, Charles. All fans are passionate. But I've come to realize, just my opinion. Well, I'll ask you, who do you think are the fan base that is most, I don't want to say dislike, but they have a lot of energy, whether that's positive or negative, directed at that fan base? How would you rank them? I just heard a voice say radical.
I would clearly say the Jaguar Nation by far. I've been around them. I know them. I know how they are. I would say the Jaguar Nation 1. I would say right now, because of what Alcorn has done successfully, put Alcorn 2, and I would say Jackson 3. And if Jackson State football gets back to where they need to be, I think it'll be a close match between Jackson and Alcorn for 2. But clearly the Jaguar Nation, it's unlike anything else, even with baseball. I mean, when you talk about baseball and basketball and football, of course, I mean, football is getting talked about all the time because of what Southern hasn't done, more so than what they have done. And that, let's see, I would say Southern, I would say Alcorn Jackson 3, Grambling 4, and of course those are the successful programs. Then you go down the line, I would say Alabama State 5, I would say Prairie View 6, Texas Southern 7, UAPB 8. Who am I missing? There's someone I'm missing in there. Alabama A&M. I would say Alabama A&M 9 and Valley 10. That would be my top 10 in terms of passion, energy, fan base, all of that. I would just say just the synergy and energy coming from those fan bases. If I had to rank it 1 to 10, that would be my deal. I mean, I'm learning more and more about the Jaguar Nation. I thought I knew, but as they say, if you don't know, now you know. So you've heard that before. So I mean, I knew it. I
warned you on that one.
Yeah.
That's still a sore spot in the sword.
It sure is.
Stab on it, but it can easily be picked open. And I'm telling you, I know you looked for us 2 years ago in the 2018 championship.
Yeah.
And I told the young lady that was in the booth, tell Charles we're out of here. We didn't even make it to the car when the fireworks are going off and stuff. And what can you say? That's the fan part of you. You congratulate, the Alcorn State fans, the few that you see, and you're getting out of Dodge. We were in that vehicle and we were making our way up 61.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just the fan part.
Absolutely.
But you could congratulations. A quick true story here. Last year, the Celebration Bowl, flying back from Atlanta, we were in the airport. Atlanta airport is busy, so this guy who works there sees us with Southern paraphernalia on, and he just immediately, what a smarty pants. We'll see y'all in what do you say? We'll see y'all in October. And I was like, first of all, who are you? Who are you to ask me a question? Do you know? And he was like, I'm an Alabama State grad. And I said, okay, I'll make sure I'm going to be at that game.
Yeah.
Which I haven't been in that beautiful stadium. And, but to your point, yeah. But again, for the most part, you have fun, you like to get after each other, but at the end of the day, we're HBCU family.
Right. And that's why at the Celebration Bowl, I mean, every time I think of the Celebration Bowl, I thought about the Friday when the teams are practicing. Of course, you have the press conference, and then those teams have an hour of practice on the field. And I remember you and me and your friend Truck and Charles Bishop and all of our the SWAC media family were down on the field. And I remember you saying, you said it loud enough where I could hear it, and you probably said it loud enough for everybody to hear it. Like, I sure wish Southern was here, because that feeling, and there's no feeling in the world when your team has won a championship and you go to that press conference. Like, I've been to the NCAA basketball championships. You have that hour press conference, and then you go out on the court for that hour. Just the pride of seeing your team out there on the court or out on that football field for that practice for that 1 hour. It could be 30 minutes. Just the fact that that's your school and you're taking pictures and you're just proud to be a part of that institution. You know, even in that, of course, in that moment. I mean, that's a moment you'll never forget. And when Southern gets there, and they will get there at some point, you will be a proud papa, because you're going to be you're going to have your Southern blue and gold on, and you're going to be looking at your Jaguars practicing on the field and asking a ton of questions to whomever about the game, because your team is in the game, and there's no feeling like that. And I heard you say that, and I'm like, yep. You know, it's just frustrating that here it is that for so many years Southern has been knocking on the door but hasn't been able to kick it in. And you know, we'll see. I mean, because I'm learning that you know, Southern's got some new coaches, and I know Dawson Odom's is squirming. Big Worm is squirming right now because there's no practice. You know, you don't know what your kids are doing. I mean, for every coach right now in football, there's a little bit of anxiety. You know, Fred McNair's anxious. I talked with him the other day. You know, he's got to figure out the director from the university in terms of how you proceed forward. I talked with our athletic director yesterday in terms of, you know, things are changing every day, because this is new for everybody. I mean, students are going to be getting their stuff and doing their stuff online. There's nobody on campus. You know, the weight room's going to stay open. How you going to stay in shape? You know, all these things, because there's not going to be many excuses come football season. I mean, you can use this as a fallback, but I think if or when football cranks back up again, you know, everyone's going to be going through the same tough time, because there's not going to be a whole lot of time. I mean, we just hope this thing gets over with quickly to where you get back to some normalcy, some rhythm in football in terms of getting your team in condition, getting them together, getting them ready to play that first game. When we play Auburn or when Southern plays, whoever they play game one, it's just going to be anxious times, obviously, because you want to have your program together. You want to have all your games together. And right now, that's not happening.
Yeah, and, you know, being a big guy myself, you think about, as I'm listening to you talk, you think about trying to stay in shape on your own. You've got to be disciplined, but the big guys, O-linemen, you even have more concern with them, everybody, but the big guys up front, you know, and on the defensive line, you know how quickly it is you can fall into bad habits.
Yes.
And the weight can come on. And so, but yeah, everybody will be starting from ground zero to a certain point there. And not just football. I mean, to me, it seems like it's a year-round program now for all the student athletes. And so you're hoping that the tough times won't last a long time, and everything can kind of get back to what they're accustomed to, and that is being a student athlete.
Well, I can share this, Carl. One thing I've done to stay busy as far as interviews and stuff that I do, and I posted this on my social media pages. I've interviewed all the spring sports coaches, baseball, softball, tennis, and track. And those are directly impacted by this. And all of them, you can just tell, it's just frustrating for some, devastating for others. Because, like for baseball, for example, you know, we're 3-3 in the division. You know, we had to have a state last weekend. That was going to be a good litmus test. If we take 2 out of 3 in that, you know, we're right in the thick of the Eastern Division race. You know, you look at softball, we play a tough non-conference schedule, just kind of toughening up, getting ready for conference. And then you look at track, indoor track. We've had 2 individuals do some good things. if they won't be able to showcase their talents. The Penn Relays are coming up in the next month. That's kind of the culmination or the Super Bowl of indoor track. And I'm sure every school's got some student athletes that have been doing some good things, and they'll be showcased, and that's not going to happen. So I think that's the frustrating part, too, because I'm sure down at Southern, you look at what Coach Jackson has done. You look at so that's the tough part. The ones that are directly and immediately impacted, those are the ones that you kind of feel for because they're putting in so much work, and now all of it is just kind of, just kind of throwing up in smoke. And then the challenge is going to be next year, Carlos. If the NCAA grants these extra years of eligibility, our roster size is going to be expanded for those spring sports. And now all of a sudden you're going to have a quandary there in terms of how you craft and develop your roster. I was talking to our baseball coach about that. Maximum roster 35. I don't think anyone in our league has a 35-man roster, but you got guys that you've recruited, you signed, and you're going to bring them in, and now these seniors are going to have another year. How are you going to deal with that? So that's something we'll be talking about down the line. So there's some things going on. I mean, I do think that there's some stuff to talk about, like basketball. I heard your conversation with Coach Pettaway last week about the Coach of the Year award and all that. I caught a little bit of that, and that's something worth talking about. Even though basketball is done, just trying to improve the level of balance in the conference in terms of getting the recognition for these coaches that have done good things, like Sean Woods. I heard your conversation. You talked about what I had mentioned. If I were just a neutral guy covering the SWAC, there's no question I would vote Sean Woods Coach of the Year. I mean, just as a guy that follows every team in the SWAC, not just one team. You look at what he's done. The team that darn near didn't make the tournament 2 years ago. This year, he goes to the two. I mean, that's worth recognition. That's worth talking about. Our program, going from 8 to 5 and darn near 4 if Jackson State did do what they were supposed to do. We'd be playing at home. So that's something to talk about. So there's a lot of little small snippets of stuff that we can kind of throw out there and discuss. To kind of pass the time a little bit. Because there are some things we can talk about here. Just the good work of coaches and teams and players and individuals.
Well, a listener said they wanted to jump in on these top 10 fanatic bases. He had Southern 1, 2 Jackson State, 3 Grambling. Grambling's kind of quiet in a way, though. They're nice. 4 Alcorn. Yeah, who wants that smoke? Goodness, hear that term again. 5 Alabama State, 6 Prairie View, 7 TSU, 8 Alabama A&M, 9 UAPB, 10 Mississippi Valley State. So far, it seems to be 9 and 10 consistent, 1 and 2 consistent, and then in the middle, from 3 to 6, interesting. But thanks to JH, he threw that in. Charles, well, it is one of those situations where I still believe it'll get better eventually. And then maybe we'll look back on this tough period. History will record it for some, the seriousness. And as I was listening to you talk about the student athletes, let's not forget about the athletic support staff.
Yes.
I'm not sure of everyone's situation, but people are getting laid off, losing jobs and furloughed and what have you. If you're still working, so I know quite a few people are working from home. That's a blessing still in the bad time, to be able to still work. So I feel the pain of those who are inconvenienced economically right now. For the situation that's going on. So, we want to keep them in mind as well.
Well, to your point, I mean, that's hit me directly because my sister works in the hotel industry, and her salary has been cut 30%. She texted me the other night. She still has a job, but her salary has been cut 30%. My brother-in-law works in the maintenance department in the hotel industry, and he has been furloughed or laid off for right now. So that you're right. There is a direct impact, and these casinos are all closing. They're all closed. And the one thing you learn in a situation like this, just I guess copycat might be the right word in the nicest way, but when one stops, everything stops. When one casino shuts down, sooner or later they're all going to shut down. When one hotel has to do some negative things in terms of keeping payroll and having to furlough people, others follow suit. The airlines, and that's one of the things that you're learning in all of this. If one grocery store is suffering, then they're all going to suffer. I'm saying that firsthand, even today. So it's the trickle down effect impacts all of us eventually. It may not get to you today, but maybe next week it'll eventually trickle down to your area. And those folks in hospitality and service, the service industry, they're getting killed. The airlines, they're putting planes on the ground and these empty planes. Dr. McClellan even talked about how this flight he only saw probably 10 or 12 people on his 2 or 3 legs while he was flying up to New York trying to deal with the NCAA basketball committee. So that means people aren't working. So this isn't like 9/11, or this isn't like Katrina. This is a whole lot worse, and you don't see when it's going to turn around. You know it will, but the question is when.
Yep. Well, on that note, Charles, we will end the conversation for this week, but I'll be in contact with you during the middle of next week. We take pride in being creative, and even though there's no sports going on, there's still things that we can discuss and talk about.
I am a little angry, Carlos, because I'm a Rams fan, and they cut Todd Gurley. They're slashing, they're dumping salary because they're over capped. I'm a little with everything going on. I'm ticked off about that right now. So maybe we talk about that next.
Why they're overcapped? That the management.
That's on them. Yeah, you pay Todd Gurley a ton of money. He's not healthy. You give Jalen Ramsey a ton of money, and he's probably worth what you paid him. But the whole Todd Gurley situation. Then you pay Jared Goff $1 billion. I mean, at some point you got to pay the piper, and right now the Rams are paying the piper. And, right, look at the 49ers, look at Seattle. I mean, Arizona now, Arizona's got a great wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins. The Rams
is that not the bonehead? Oh, yeah. Wait a minute. I'm not a Texan fan, but it's still a bonehead decision.
Yeah, Dr. President down there in Houston, I know Houston folks are saying it's time for Bill O'Brien to go. That's a head scratcher to me. Even though he, the off the field stuff and the other stuff that's coming out, he was still a pretty productive wide receiver, and I think that could have been worked out.
Well, they were saying it was time for him to go before the trade, during the trade, and especially after the trade. In fact, one of the local news reporters said if it wasn't for the virus, they probably would have been picketing NRG Stadium at the moment of that trade. So it's been chaotic. and for the life of me, here was a guy that you give all this authority to. I'm talking about O'Brien. And he technically, he had the power to hire or fire himself. So he stays in the GM role. Not quite sure what they're going to do about the coaching role, but they need to do some serious change. And I'm a Steelers fan, so I really wouldn't care. But being here in the hotbed of all this, Houston Texan fans are not happy at all.
I imagine so. I mean, that's a head scratch. If you're a pro football fan that likes good individual talent, DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best in the league. And that's a head scratcher. Any pro football fan if you follow this stuff day to day.
It's to the point, Charles, where it's like you're showing signs of immaturity. I get rid of you because I don't like you. Man, there are people that make millions and billions of dollars together because they respect and appreciate what that individual brings to the table. And I don't have to like you to win and to make money, and that just shows the immaturity level. And he's slowly but surely eroding this franchise known as the Texans, and the stock Arizona just went up for their young quarterback, getting a receiver like Hopkins, man. So it's going to be interesting whenever this thing reconvenes, I should say.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, all of you guys have problems. I suffer from the second place syndrome again. You have the talent to win it all, but you don't. Good.
And you let Bridgewater,
and I'm gonna tell you, I almost
get
to the point.
You let Bridgewater get away. You let Bridgewater get away.
Well, you know what? In that decision, I don't blame him. Family comes first. Make your money, son, because I wouldn't sit there on that bench any longer. If I have the opportunity. No. Well, yeah, you gonna have to replace Breeze, and you got the top receiver in the league, and you're gonna need somebody to throw to him. But you know what? Guess what? Their mentality is we got to win now. They're not worried about the future. But he who pays the piper dances by its tune.
I agree with that.
Yeah, well, they're in win now mode. Hell, they've been that way for 3 years now. Here we go again. And then some of you will be calling and emailing me saying, well, what do you want a team that's 4th and 5th or 6th in the league? And I'll make this statement. I'll end it on this. Don't tell me that now you are a great regular season team, but you're average in the playoffs.
I got a question.
I'm coming to that conclusion.
Who's under the more stress? I won't say hot seat. Well, we say who's under the more stress, the Saints or the Jags?
You're not talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, so I guess that you're referring to the Southern, right?
I'm talking about Southern. I'm not. Who cares about Jacksonville? Who cares about Jacksonville?
Well, I know
no question to me, Southern University. I think Sean Payton is fine. Drew Brees has got 2 years. This is probably his last contract. I do see positive things here in New Orleans. That defense to me has always been suspect. They got to improve there. You got Drew Brees, you got Taysom Hill, maybe. I think that offense will be fine. But, no doubt, Southern's got to get to Atlanta. Southern's got to see up and see Atlanta. Southern's got to see the aquarium. They got to see the Hall of Fame banquet. That's what they have to see in order to quiet Jaguar fans down.
And remember, we were talking earlier about the impact of the situation we have now. Dr. McClellan said last week on the show they were at the point of being able to give $4 to $5 million to the conference, and I kind of did my math. I'm not a mathematician. My major was not in mathematics, but nobody turns down that piece of change there. I did 10 divide 5 million. I just rounded off to 5 million divided by 10, 500,000.
Yeah.
And just remember that. And speaking of this, because we've got about 8 minutes left, welcome to Southern University, Jack Grossi, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator. Brian Lepet, offensive line coach. And by the way, let me back up. Grossi spent some time in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization. Last year, he was at Hampton University as a quarterback coach. He was an analyst at Tampa Bay. Brian Lepek, who played collegiately at Oklahoma and Colorado State University. He was a grad assistant at University of Indiana. He's going to be the O-line coach and run game coordinator. Wow. Chris Brown, former offensive lineman, played under Coach Richardson and Coach Odoms. He'll be the tight end coach. Vincent Marshall, welcome to the Bluff. Wide receiver coach, played at the University of Houston, Bowling Green, Syracuse, some of his stops, and Jason Rollins, Louisiana native safety coach and special team coordinator, was at the University of Texas San Antonio, coached at McNeese and Northwestern State. Those are the hires for Coach Odoms. So back to your question, what did you say? Who's under the most heat or something like that you said? Out of the two, the Saints and the Jaguars?
Yes, sir. We didn't say heat because let's say who's
what
under
did
the
you
most
say?
Stress, under the most stress.
Stress, heat, same thing to me. I'm going to say Southern, Coach Odoms.
I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree. I mean,
Dr. Prince, are you probably going to say?
Oh, I don't care. I'm just saying, being that, the rules have been changed for the Saints, and they still couldn't get over that proverbial hump. And, it's Atlanta a bus for Jag Nation. And, they got
I would agree.
Right. And you got, both teams' window, or should I say organizations, windows are closing. Some would say more rapid than others. And I'm just wondering, just from a Louisiana point of view, who would you say would be under the most stress?
Well, I'll throw another little wrinkle in it. I'll just mess you with it. Who's under more heat, Coach Dooley, or Coach Odom?
Coach Dooley.
Ooh.
And that's
I didn't want to say that because I'm getting accused of being an instigator. But
no, it's not. It's not.
That's
It's
a
a
fair
reality.
question.
It's a reality. And Dooley is probably under the most stress because he's achieved the least of the two. And that's not in a negative way. At least Odom has on his pedigree, he's achieved X, Y, Z. Dooley has yet to achieve anything as a head coach. Okay. So, you got some people that are criticizing the 6-5 win. They say, yeah, you went 6-5, but two of the schools should have never been on the same field with you. So you got to deal with that. He's got holes to fill in the coaching staff. There are all kind of undercurrent things that are probably going to be coming out in the near future that he's going to have to deal with and take the bull by the horns with. So I don't think that's being messy. That's being a realist. Now, a lot of people get sensitive when you start talking about stuff like that. But I think I was guilty of saying on one of my shows this week, I've never seen a coach that was hired not to win. And that's what you're measured by. Part of what you're measured by of your retention is how do you win? How do you deal with on and off the field issues? So I wouldn't consider that being messy. It's just a legitimate question.
Our baseball coach, Brett Richardson, says it to me all the time in a very brutal but honest way. This is a results-oriented business. And if you don't produce the results, you're not going to be around. And that goes for his players as well. We got good players that aren't playing as much. It's not that they're bad kids. It's just other guys are just producing more. It's a results-oriented business, and I think that's just the bottom line when it comes to all of it, coaching and all.
Yep.
Right now, it's who's producing. Dalton Odoms is producing, with the exception of he can't get his team to Atlanta. You talk about Dooley, so it's about production. It's about getting the results.
Well, look, since we're talking about messy. Let's not call it messy. Let's put it back on you, tall guy.
Okay.
You have to replace Fred McNair. Who do you take, Dawson Odoms or Eric Dooley?
Both of you guys are funny today. I'm listening. Go ahead.
You're making me think, Dr. Prince. I wasn't supposed to be thinking today, but you're making me use my brain a little bit. I'm personally, as a fan, I'm a fan of offense, and that's probably why I'm not a coach, because I believe I'm like the Mike Martz. Remember Mike Martz, the greatest show on turf, the Rams?
Yes, sir.
Mike, they can score 1,000 points, but they're going to give up 1,001. The defense wasn't there. I'm gonna go with Dooley, because I think offensively he can score as many points as he wants, and if he can just hire a couple of good guys on defense to be able to slow some teams down, not saying stop them, slow some teams down, I'll go with that. Although defense wins championships, and Dawson Odom, has been touching that defense since he's been there. But as a fan, if I had a choice, I'm gonna go with Dooley because we know what he's done offensively. What he did at Grambling with Kincaid, and what he's done offensively with Jalen Morton and Tucker and others. He can score a ton of points. There's no question about it. He's creative. He can find ways to take the top off the defense. He can make it happen. So I would go with Dooley because I think he can score a ton of points and put pressure on you.
Fair enough.
Interesting. Is all this conversation is going to continue after the show, folks. You know that. Oh my goodness! I guess I see it from a different set of eyeballs because I don't have my glasses on, so I'm not for it today. But I tell you what, it's all about results. You're absolutely right. Charles, have a great weekend. Appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week.
You guys be safe out there. Everybody be safe. Be responsible.
Yeah. PlayStation 4 marathon this weekend for me. I'm getting right after it. Then I have a honeydew list tomorrow, but we will make time for it. Have a great weekend.
All right. Appreciate it.
All righty. I want to thank Charles Edmond, Coach Van Pettaway, who he brought the smoke today as usual. All I needed was some organ music going. When the preacher / pastor gets into his run and the music is going, he was going today. Thank Dr. Michael Prince as always, and Coach Sean Wood. You know what? I think Coach Wood's a little modest there. Mr. Tough Guy. I thought he was going to spend a few extra minutes on that Prairie View game. That was a battle, though. That was a battle. Much respect to all the programs this year. They did the best that they could. Some improved, some where we thought they would be. And I want to thank all of you. Be safe out there. Do what you have to do. You know the requirements. Wash your hands. Social distance. All of that good stuff. I know you get hammered with that a lot, so I'm just reminding you. You know what to do. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Make sure you tune in next Saturday at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Coles Brown Show. Heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Until next Saturday, as always, peace and God bless.